Russian weapons have long been hailed for their cutting-edge technology and immense power. Yet, despite these claims, many of Russia's most ambitious military projects have failed to live up to expectations. From delayed and poorly performing ships like the Lidar-class destroyer to the questionable performance of weapons like the Poseidon torpedo, Russian military hardware regularly falls short of its mark. These failures are not just technical flaws, but also reflect deeper problems within Russia's defense industry, such as corruption, mismanagement, and unrealistic expectations. In this video, we examine why Russian weapons continue to underperform and what this means for the future of the country's military might. Navy ship. Russia's only carrier is Admiral Kuznetsov. The 1980s-born Admiral Kuznetsov was commissioned in 1991, just before the Soviet Union collapsed. This carrier is inferior to the U.S. Navy's catapult-launched aircraft carriers. Its planes launch slower than the Nimitz and Ford-class carriers or China's Fujian due to the Stobar technology. The Admiral Kuznetsov has had many tragic mishaps. One delay after another has plagued ship repairs since 2018. It was intended to return in 2021, but that didn't happen. The ship should return to service in 2024, but that's uncertain. Corruption has plagued Admiral Kuznetsov's repairs. The Murmansk shipyard director was imprisoned 3 years ago for embezzling 600,000 rubles. The Russian military has long struggled with corruption in weapons development, logistics, and maintenance. The video begins with the Admiral Kuznetsov saga, which shows the Russian Navy's outdated equipment, incompetence, and corruption, which have played out in the war, as seen in Ukraine's victory over the Black Sea Fleet, despite having no navy. Russia's surface navy has other issues. It is gradually replacing Soviet-era ships with lighter, less combat-worthy ones. This is slowly reducing the Russian Navy's blue water capabilities and bringing it closer to the shores. Russia's new Lidar-class destroyers aim to counter this tendency. The Lidar-class destroyer could strengthen the Russian Navy if constructed. It was twice as massive as the Soviet-era destroyers it would replace, and weigh 19,000 tons and be nuclear-powered. It would be bigger than the 3 Russian Navy Slava-class cruisers. Large ships can support new weaponry like the 3 M22 Surkon-winged anti-ship hypersonic cruise missile, a naval counterpart of Russia's S-500 air defense system. Lidar may also carry the Packet NK torpedo and Packet MTT anti-torpedo. The Lidar-class destroyer, intended to compete with the Zumwalt-class, was expected to enter service in 2023, but its construction has been repeatedly delayed. Despite this, it was initially part of the 2025 state armament program, though it was later removed due to funding cuts. The Russian Navy faces further challenges as older ships retire in 2024, and the timeline for the Lidar class remains uncertain. Additionally, Russia's underwater fleet faces similar issues. The Belgorod submarine and Poseidon torpedo, touted as doomsday weapons, have faced disappointing tests. While the Poseidon is claimed to have a 100 megaton yield capable of generating radioactive tsunamis, experts believe its actual yield would be much lower, between 1 to 2 megatons, which would cause flooding, not a tsunami. The torpedo's speed and the engineering challenges it faces, such as cavitation and heat signatures, make it unlikely to be as effective as advertised. Overall, both the Lidar-class destroyer and Poseidon torpedo highlight ongoing concerns with Russia's military advancements, with many experts questioning their practical capabilities. Fighter plane. When Belgorod held exercises in the autumn of 2022, international defense experts predicted that. We now look at the Russian Su-57 Felon, a fifth-generation fighter jet that competes with the F-22 and F-35. Of course, the Su-57's 3D thrust vectoring engines, 19 km/h climb rate, 20 km service ceiling, Mach 2 speed, and 35-18 km range without refueling are outstanding. The Su-57 should be able to fight any fighter plane. The Su-57's lack of stealth is a major shortcoming. The Su-57 is the least stealthy fifth-generation fighter, according to aviation experts. The Su-57 can be detected at 56 kilometers, whereas the F-22 Raptor is only 16 kilometers away. Its stealth measures are centered at the front of the plane, making it more visible when turning or maneuvering. Some aviation specialists are even harsher, comparing the Su-57's radar cross-section to the F/A-18 Super Hornet, which is 1,000 times less stealthy than the F-35 Lightning II. They argue that the Su-57 is an upgraded fourth-generation fighter jet, not a fifth-generation one. The Su-57's lack of stealth allows modern fighter aircraft or air defense radars to detect and destroy it from afar. Moscow's deployment of new convicts seems to validate these shortcomings. Due to the Russian Aerospace Force's refusal to fly the Su-57 in Ukrainian airspace, it has played a limited role in the battle. Instead, it has exclusively struck long-range targets from Russian airspace. The rare employment of the Felon shows Russian brass's faith in its stealth abilities. The Russian military is unlikely to produce enough Felons to make it truly formidable. Moscow ordered 76 Su-57s in 2019. 22 are operational since December 2023 after years of delays. Given its limited war-making capabilities, Russia is unlikely to field enough Su-57 soon. Russia is better known for tanks than jets. However, the latest Russian tank has more issues than the Su-57. Tank. True, the T-14 Armata is better than the T-72 T-80 and T-90 tanks Russia has used in Ukraine. Battle in Ukraine has cost thousands of these tanks due to faulty doctrine and design problems. Because they don't seal their ammunition magazines, jack-in-the-box explosions commonly destroy them. A protective cocoon isolates the T-14 Armata crew from its ammunition magazine. Due to its low silhouette, the vehicle's parts are protected from enemy fire. Armata's main weapon is a 125mm 2AA2 1M smoothbore gun that fires associated rounds and laser-guided missiles. Ukraine began fielding Western main battle tanks in substantial numbers last year. This weapon would threaten them. Unfortunately for Russia, only the Armata can use this cannon because it is not backward compatible with its previous tanks. Never has the T-14 been seen in Ukraine, which is an issue. T-14 Armata tanks are scarcer in Russia than Su-57 fighter planes. Production setbacks have plagued the tank since its launch. Moscow said it would have 2,300 tanks by 2020 when it presented the tank in June 2015. That never happened. Russia promised serial production in 2021 but failed. Approximately 20 prototypes have been made. The T-14's engine is very difficult to make. The Armata uses the German X-shaped simmering SLA-16 engine, the A85-3, unlike most Russian tanks. This engine was made for compressor oil and gas pumping stations, not tanks. The Armata tank was constructed around this engine, not the other way around. The Armata's smaller, more powerful, but heavier tank engine seemed tempting. But it never proved adequate, and it cannot be downsized to fit Russia's reliable V-92S2F tank engine. Russian brass has been reluctant to start on a new tank, instead trying to fix the Armata's engine issues, which has presented a sunk cost fallacy. The Armata's sensory and fire control electronics are scarcer because of restrictions imposed after it invaded Ukraine. No Armata assembly line has been created, and all prototypes have been handmade. All of these issues make it unlikely that the Armata will be fielded in substantial numbers soon. Russia's tanks are outgunned and unprotected on Ukrainian battlefields, hence a modern tank is needed. Russian tanks can't lift their guns as high as Western tanks, limiting their range. The T-90, Russia's latest tank before the Armata, can only lift or drop its cannon 14 or 6 degrees. The Abrams can lift and drop its gun 20 degrees and 9 degrees, respectively. The Abrams can hit targets at longer ranges than the T-90 or other tanks Russia can employ in Ukraine in big numbers due to their flexibility. Russian tanks are more vulnerable to anti-tank guns from roofs or high windows than American tanks due to their lack of gun mobility. In the 2000s Chechen battles, Russia learned this lesson the hard way. Since then, Russia has been unable to upgrade its tanks and has faced similar ambushes in Ukraine. The battle has destroyed thousands of tanks due to ammunition storage issues, firepower, and adaptability, and Russia cannot produce enough T-14 Armata to fix the problem. Russia may overcome these disadvantages with doctrine adjustments, such as deploying infantry and other units to back its tanks in combined arms operations, but it has not shown the potential to do so. Military leaders in the Kremlin have struggled to shake decades of Soviet deep combat theory and centuries of Russian mass reliance to crush an opponent, regardless of deaths. Engineering issues plague Russia's military weaponry and its upcoming ones. Even Russia's body armor has been embarrassing. Armor. Russia's soldiers, notably those Putin mobilized in the autumn of 2022, have been poorly protected. Infamously, some Russian military received airsoft Ratnik body armor. Russia has made grandiose claims about its future despite its shortcomings in this sector. It claims its next-generation Sotnik body armor can block a .50 caliber Browning machine gun round. To reduce weight, the Sotnik armor will be composed of polyethylene plastic fibers. The energy transfer heats polyethylene, which melts and sticks to the bullet, slowing it down. The technique has worked in other body armor systems across the world, and enough polyethylene might stop a .50 BMG round. A .50 BMG round can punch holes in cinder block walls with almost 5 tons of power. Stopping a powerful bullet would take a lot of polyethylene. Even with greater efficiency, this armor makes it hard to imagine a soldier moving on the battlefield. If Russian engineers sought to build polyethylene armor that protected against .50 caliber machine gun bullets and kept the wearer mobile, it would be difficult. Sotnik's body armor should be viewed skeptically. Jet plane. The MiG-41, Russia's 6th-generation fighter jet, is another illustration of technical issues in future military systems. The Kremlin claims this plane will be the fastest in the world at Mach 4. If Russia is right, the fighter will have a 25-kilometer ceiling, higher than any previous aircraft. Unfortunately for Russia, the MiG-41 is likely a weapon that will never work as claimed. At its cruising speed, let alone with its afterburners, the MiG-41 would lose its stealthiness. Hypersonic flying generates heat and friction. Friction erodes stealth materials that reduce radar cross-sections in planes like the F-22 and F-35. High-speed flight would also render the MiG-41 observable to radar due to heat signatures. Russian engineers would need unique technology to mitigate this problem. Never expect that. A successor to the MiG-31 interceptor, the MiG-41 is expected to confront the SR-71 Blackbird spy jet. It was designed for Mach 2 speeds. Moscow has a dilemma because an interceptor is different from a 5th-generation fighter, let alone a 6th, and the SR-71 has been retired from the American Air Fleet since the 1990s. Why the Russians would develop their 6th-generation fighter from an outdated concept is puzzling, and even without the engineering challenges to make it work as advertised, the MiG-41 could have the same issues as the T-14 Armata, a frame built around a questionable concept. The Kremlin expects the MiG-41 to fly in 2025 and be delivered in 2028. Because Russia takes so long to introduce new military systems or maintain old ones, we should take those assertions with a grain of salt. Thanks for finishing the video. Russian weapons fail due to strategy and preparation as much as technology. Think about this. Please comment below and like and subscribe to the channel to avoid missing the future analysis. See you next video.